Hi, Kelly here from freebiefindingmom.com, and thank you for joining me for another Friday session of Money Talk, where we get together usually on Fridays and go over typically a couple of the more popular finance or money related questions that you have had here on the Freebie Finding Mom Facebook page. So by the way, as you watch this video, if you will, please give it a like or a heart. I would appreciate it. And if you find it helpful, if you will, please share it to your Facebook page. That would be great as well. So the first question we have today comes from Tracy. And Tracy goes on to say, my 23-year-old stepson has moved back into our home because he lost his job and his girlfriend kicked him out. I told my husband once he gets a new job, he needs to move out, but my husband disagrees. He thinks my stepson should stay as long as he needs. What can I do? If he stays, can I charge him rent once he gets a job? Good question, Tracy. First off, sorry that you all are in this situation, because as much as it sounds like you're not excited that he's moving back in, he probably feels about the same way. So hopefully, I'll share with you my opinion at the very end, but I will say, hopefully whatever you guys decide, that you're working as a team is the key, because I'm sure he's not like super excited that he's moving back in the house either. So, but you guys had so many good insights for this question, by the way, so I'm not gonna go through all of them, but I encourage you to check out Tracy's question on the Facebook page, because you guys had some really good thoughts here. One of my favorites came from Jacqueline. She said, charge him rent, but put half of that rent away for him in savings, and the other half can go towards household expenses. She said he needs to share in the responsibility of taking care of the home, like cutting grass and etc. And she said when he's ready to move out, give him the portion of the rent you were saving. He will appreciate having something to use towards his new place. And Jacqueline goes on to say that her parents actually did that for her, and she said it made her happier to give rent, knowing it was going to, that she was going to have money for things later on. And so they must have told her they were going to be saving that rent money and giving it back to her at the end. And then she said the savings on her part was all part of the deal. So she said she had to save money, pay her bills, and help around the house. So thank you, Jacqueline, for that. That sounds great. I think that's a really good compromise, I mean, teach him responsibility by, charging him rent once he has the funds to be able to pay it. But then, it's up to you, Tracy, I would say, you and your husband, obviously, as to whether or not you tell him in advance that you're going to be giving him that money back. So if he's the type of, really a diligent saver, and you think that that would just help motivate him to just save even more, then go ahead and tell him that he'll get that rent money back at the end when he moves out. But if he's someone that maybe is more of a spender and not really good at saving his money, maybe you don't necessarily tell him that the rent money he pays he'll get back. So and then maybe that could just be a way of showing him that, look, you didn't realize this, but you were actually saving by giving us the rent money. So you kind of should know your stepson, Tracy, and know whether or not kind of how he handles his money, and whether or not he will be diligent at saving it on his own, or if you kind of have to force him to save by charging him rent. But I love that compromise, and I totally agree, Jacqueline, giving Tracy, giving your stepson some responsibility, like helping around the house, and just giving him certain expectations. Like, Jacqueline said she had to save a certain amount. So let him know what the expectations are. If you're coming back in the house, and obviously you need to be on the same page as your husband with this, and ideally this information would come from your husband, just because clearly that's, his son, and, let him kind of take the lead with that. But hopefully you guys can come to a compromise that he needs to help around the house. Charging him rent is a good idea. It's up to you guys whether or not you tell him he's going to get the money back at the end. But just let him know there are definitely some expectations here as well by moving back in the house. Desiree disagrees. Desiree says if he's getting a job and is actively working towards moving out, let him save up the money and that he needs to keep himself afloat. Making him pay rent when he needs to save for a down payment and to get on his feet is just going to hinder him and prevent him from reaching his goals in a timely manner. So that's a good point too, Desiree. I would say I go back to if it really depends on what type of young adult he is. So if he's someone who you feel is responsible and just kind of in a tough situation right now, then go ahead and you can maybe not charge him rent if you know that he will be working hard and he wants to get out of the house too. But if you kind of have to force him with the saving, go ahead, and I love the charging him rent idea and then giving it back to him at the end too. And then Veronica said, Veronica brought up the point about some young adults think they can't save. She said by holding his funds, you're basically showing him that he can save, whether or not he knows it or not, but you're kind of helping force him to save his money. And so anyway, so that's a good start too. And then Christy said, I think allowing him to stay and charging some rent would be a good compromise, but make it low enough so that he can save, or you're charging him rent and then you keep it, which it will keep him there, which is not what you want. Yeah, you don't want to charge him so much that he just will never be able to, you know, move out, because clearly that's, I think, the goal for everybody in this situation. So tough situation, Tracy. I would just tell you definitely to look at everybody's insights on that question, because you guys had so many good thoughts on that question, first off. And then secondly, you should know your stepson, or your husband should know him well enough to know kind of how he handles his money. So maybe you just, whatever you guys decide, I think the key is you need to be a united front and make sure that you guys are collaboratively on the same page, hopefully. So let him know that you really want to see him succeed and you want to see him get on his feet, but, you know, and that's what you're there to help him do. So, you know, just make that be the message, because like I said, I'm sure he's not super thrilled he's back in the house either. So, but good luck with that, Tracy, and good luck to your stepson. Next question comes from Connie, and Connie said, our mortgage rate is low. So does it still make sense to pay down our mortgage early, or should we invest that extra money? So I'll share with you my thoughts here, but you guys had some really good suggestions as well. Vanessa said, I was invested if I was getting a higher interest rate on the investment. If the interest rate on the investment was lower than the mortgage, I would apply that to the mortgage rate. So basically, if you're earning more money than what your mortgage is costing you, so then she would go ahead and invest it. And Kim goes on to say, I think as long as you do not have penalties for early payment, I would suggest paying it off early. As other commenters have suggested, it would be an asset and would be a major payment out of the way. I think I would wait on investments until my mortgage was paid and then take the money that I was normally making for my mortgage towards an investment, since it would not impede my income. So Kim likes the idea of paying your mortgage down first before you start trying to build wealth and investing. And then Veronica kind of agreed with that. She said, I want my mortgage paid ASAP. I consider my mortgage a savings account. The quicker I pay off, the more tangible saving I have. No one can take away my foundation or shelter, but if needed, I have equity. Okay, so thank you guys for that, Veronica, as well. So here's my thoughts on this, Connie. So what I would say is it really depends on kind of how you are financially, meaning does that mortgage debt just drive you bonkers? Does it just like, I just can't wait to get out from under it? It just kind of feels like it's suffocating you. Then you may want to look into paying that down first instead of building up your wealth and investing. What I would personally do, if your mortgage rate is low enough and you're earning enough on your investments, I 100% would be investing it in safe securities. I mean, I wouldn't be putting it in, you know, penny stocks or something, but I would be wanting to build more wealth, and by doing that, by, you know, investing it in the market and that sort of thing. But like I said, if you're someone, and I have people like that, friends and family and things, that the mortgage just drives them crazy and they can't even think about wanting to really start building wealth and investing until they get that mortgage paid off, that's perfectly fine. Just know that once it's paid off, you're going to want to be obviously investing and building that wealth. It really, like I say, it comes back to kind of how you are. If that's really, that debt is really bothering you, then you can pay it down first before you start, you know, building securities and, you know, or growing securities and that sort of thing. But honestly, I guess if your mortgage rate is that low, I would just go ahead and start investing it, as long as you know you can pick securities that are going to be higher than that mortgage rate. So that's what I would do personally. I would start investing it, but you know yourself best, and if that debt is driving you crazy, then pay that down first. So it really comes down to how you are with your money, really. There's not necessarily a wrong answer. It's just whatever, I guess, would keep you motivated in doing the best you can towards maximizing your savings and building wealth. So that's what I say for that. Thank you guys, as always, for answering these questions and for asking the questions. I love to see what's on your mind. And if you have any questions you would like me to share here on the Facebook page, you can always either leave a comment, you can either send me a direct message, or you can send me an email. Thank you so much, as always, you guys, for commenting on everybody's questions. I think it just really benefits everybody. And like I said, I'd love to see what everybody is thinking. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.